Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cyber Inspiration Podcast. My name is Evgeny. I have been around cybersecurity for the last 20 years and I have a lot of experience working with a variety of cybersecurity vendors. My main work is vendor consulting and cybersecurity advisory for companies. As part of my passion in technology and cyber, I've been intrigued to learn how a company starts. I started the podcast to understand the thinking process and what motivated people to start their own company. This podcast is affiliated with Security Architecture Podcast.
Good morning, everyone. I have a pleasure today to talk to Alex. And Alex wrote a very interesting book that I think is very important because we are quite tech savvy, at least our generation. I think our kids, even more tech savvy than us, but our parents, not always. And unfortunately, in many cases, they fell short in some cases, or they fell short of being a victim of not very good people. And I want to really dive into Alex's book, Alex's inspiration to write the book, and the process behind the book. Alex, can you please tell me about yourself and the book you wrote?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in cybersecurity since God was in short pants. I've worked in forensic analysis, in endpoint, SIM, and a large variety of different vendors. And the focus there has always been protecting companies, right? And trying to keep their data and their property safe from hackers and scammers and people like that. And it came about that we had to move in with my father-in-law for a little while. He suffered a stroke. And while I was there, he ended up falling victim to a scam that resulted in him losing $57,000 within about 2 hours of him falling victim to this. And that kind of got me thinking about, my focus is on corporations, and here we are with my family suffering the losses that my job is to stop happening. So I started doing some research into what is out there to help that particular demographic, right? Because as you quite rightly said, there's lots of reasons why they're targeted. One is that they're seen to be an easy target because of the lack of technical literacy. They grew up in eras when their phones didn't look like this, right? They had rotary dials and things like that, and they had no access to the outside world except to another telephone. And then the other thing is there's a perceived kind of wealth around them as well. They built up a lifetime of savings. They possibly paid off their mortgages by the time they retire. And also, a lot of times, motivation is around drugs as well. So they have access to prescription drugs and Medicare type information. The more I looked into it, the more I realized that there really are almost no protections for this particular part of our community. I felt compelled to help in some way, and someone recommended, hey, why don't you write a book? I'd never looked into that. My wife is my champion. She's done all the process around it, what we have to do. There's a lot more involved instead of just like putting pen to paper. There's a lot of kind of business side of things that I'm no good at. So that's how it came about.
This is very interesting and very important story, and unfortunately, a bit tragic story as well. I hope your father was able to recover the money, or you were able to find something that happened there. Was he able to recover the money?
Unfortunately not. If he'd have done it over a credit card, obviously there's fraud protection and stuff like that. In this case, it was wired. And once the wire transfer goes through, there's no way to pull it back. The account on the other side just gets closed down and there's no trace. That's it.
I really hope people that listening to us right now will basically buy the book for their parents or buy the book to themselves and read the book and help the parents to make sure it's never happened to anyone again. We're going to move and talk more about the book process right now. And I wrote a book as well. And for me, it took me some time to realize, do I want to do self-publishing or do I want to go with existing publisher? Tell us a bit what happened to you, what was your thinking behind, and what do you end up choosing?
Yeah, so we had the same kind of scenario about whether we were going to go through an established publisher or self-publish. There's a lot of moving parts around self-publishing. That was the way we ended up going. We actually created a publishing company to do the publishing. So we kind of added even more moving parts into it. But
Okay.
then there's things around like copyright as well. You want to be able to copyright your work. So going through the copyright office. And then the plan is to make this into a series of books to help different demographics and concentrate on different kind of attacks and stuff like that as well to help people understand those. So we thought rather than, having to submit to a publishing company and them either giving us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and them also taking quite a considerable chunk out of any sales that we had, we decided to do the self-publishing and set up our own publishing company. And luckily, though, I'm married to someone that has set up multiple companies and LLCs and corporations. So she has already gone through that process a few times, so we know what to do. But yeah, that was our process of thinking, which way do we go? What are the pros and cons of each? And what do we need to do to get this book out on the market? And where do you publish as well? The obvious example is I'm going out on Amazon. And Amazon actually has a pretty good self-publishing process. KDP, it's called. So you can go in, you can create an account, you upload your manuscript. They'll even create covers for you. They're not very good, but you can do that if you just want to get something out the door. And initially, the very first iteration of my book, that's what we did just to get it out. But then we thought we want to create a quality product as well as, because the information's great, but you want to present it in a way that is, looks nice and feels good and stuff like that as well. So we ended up contracting with graphic designers to get the cover done, editors as well to professionally edit the book, because even though English is my first language, I wasn't very good at it at school. Getting someone that does that for a living. And then there's lots of other kind of moving parts around getting the cover done. You have to measure the spines, exactly how wide the graphic needs to be. So we said, we'll just outsource all of that and do it through our publishing company. So now through various interview processes that my wife did, now we have a pretty good graphic designer on board. We have an editor on board that is currently working on my next book. So that was the process around getting the thing out the door.
This is very amazing. And we already mentioned a big target audience, and I know it's more the senior people. I'm wondering, people that listening to us and they're not senior, we're going to be takeaways for people that are not senior. Maybe they're 40, 50, or even younger, 20.
Yeah, I would say, although the target we are aiming to help is the senior community, in all honesty, I foresee the book being purchased more for them rather than by them, right? It's people of our generation that want to educate them rather than them looking for help themselves. Because again, if you think about that demographic, they're probably not doing much shopping online, right? They're probably not going to Amazon all that much and doing a lot of purchasing. That's probably more the more tech savvy younger generation. So I think, when I wrote the book, I had it in mind, because whenever you write a book, you write it for the first person, right? So I was really writing it as a tool that someone in my position can use, where I've got older relatives. My parents are still around. My mom's 84, my dad's 92. And I want to be able to say, here, mum and dad, here's a gift for you. Read it. Understand what's going to do. The way the book is written is I've laid out the various different attacks that scammers use, how to recognize them, one. There's like real life stories around people that have fallen victim to them, so they can see the process of what happened to someone else. And then I've done sections on how to protect yourself proactively from these kind of scams, and then what to do if you have actually fallen victim to these various different types of scams. So it's things like phishing, smishing, pig butchering, tech support scams, catfishing, all of those kind of different things. So I really think it's more aimed at people that want to help their elderly relatives and friends and neighbors. We live in a community where there's most of the people around us are retired. My plan is Christmas time, we take round a little basket of goodies for each one of our neighbours. There's going to be one of my books in each one of the baskets this year because that's what I want to do. And we've done that as well on when we've done free Mondays since we've released it, where people can download the Kindle version for free every Monday so that we can get this in as many hands as possible so that we can reduce the statistics. I was saying before we started recording, when I wrote the book, I was doing research on seniors that are scammed, and there was the statistic that $3.4 billion was stolen from them. And AARP just released a new statistic that it's gone up to 28 billion. So that's almost a 10 times increase. So we're going to try and bring that down, right? Reverse.
You mentioned about research.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what kind of research you did about the topics. Yes, you've been around for a long time and you're familiar with quite a lot of stuff in cyber, but it's still you want to validate your research. You want to understand what else. So describe me your research kind of way or your research approach.
Yeah, first and foremost was talking to people, right? My father-in-law now lives in a retirement community. So went down there and I had a little kind of a talk, put a talk together where they could come and attend and talk about these things. And I asked, has anybody fallen victim to these? And a lot of the stories in my book actually came from that discussion that I had talking to people. I also am very lucky over the years to have built a network of friends and colleagues that they have stories as well from their parents and loved ones and stuff that they've come across in their careers. So there was a lot of that kind of thing, plus my own experience with working on the attack vectors and attack types that hackers and scammers will use to get into companies, because they're often the same tactics that they'll use to do civilians as well, right? It's phishing, it's smishing and stuff like that. I was able to leverage my own experience plus the experience of people that I interviewed.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's dive into the process itself. I've been interviewing quite many people, and some people dedicate specific time. Some people just do it ad hoc. How was it working for you?
Yeah, I would say that the first thing was I'm a terrible planner. I just want to get in and get things done. Luckily, I'm married to an excellent planner. So she wrote out a calendar of what the process should be. The first thing was research, right? So we had about 2 months of research and lots of very terrible writing, handwritten notes that I had to collate all together and then putting those in some kind of logical order. And then once I had all my notes together, then it's just sitting down in front of a keyboard and writing the thing out. And then the next thing we did while I was doing that, my wife was interviewing editors. So we submitted the manuscript to an editor. The editor looked it over. She made suggested changes of where things should be, as well as grammatical and things like that, changes to it. Then there's a backwards and forwards between us and the editor until we're 100% happy with the manuscript. Then the next part about that is formatting. So you get that formatted in how you want it to have a look and feel, right? Because different types of books will want different fonts and different layouts and stuff like that. That's a really important thing to take into consideration, is the look and feel of the book. Then we put the cover out to bid to various different graphic designers. You put out an idea of first, what is the content of the book, the feel that you want to have around the book. Mine was a feeling of safety, right? What is the desired outcome of reading your book? So that is what you want to portray on the cover of your book, right? Is that feeling of safety and security. You deliver that to the graphic designers. And again, there's like a back and forth with edits and stuff until you're 100% happy with your cover. And then once you've got the cover, the manuscript, the formatting, then it's a case of getting the thing published. You decide the formats you want to publish in. So there's ebook, paperback, hardback. and then where you want to publish it. The easiest one, as I mentioned earlier, is Amazon. But then there's another, if you want to get it out on Barnes and Noble, or in Canada, their version is Chapters and things like that. There are publishing services that will take that for you and help with all of that. There's a company called Ingram Spark, which is who we work with, that gets it published in multiple places. The other one was getting the book in libraries. So I've been going around a lot of local libraries and donating a copy of my book to the library so it can get on a shelf, so people can actually go in and lend the book out to read it. So that's another process that I've been going through once the book is actually out and published. So that was the actual physical kind of process we went through.
This is quite a lot of different steps, and kudos for you for doing all this. Very important. I do want to ask, with the rapid change of cybersecurity, how do you think it's going to be relevant and up to date, or are you going to plan to release different revisions?
That's something that we've been looking at. And as I kind of briefly mentioned about a series, one of the big things that I've been looking at lately is AI, right, in cybersecurity and how it's used in various different attacks. Because the attacks that I mentioned in my book, things like smishing, phishing, and stuff like that, the old tells of poorly written grammar and those kind of things, those are no more, right? Because hackers and scammers are starting to use AI in their attacks. So they're becoming a lot more sophisticated. So the research I'm doing right now is on how they're leveraging AI to attack people. That's going to be the next iteration of the book, is AI in cybersecurity and how to protect yourself from those types of attacks, right? How to recognize that, AI generated attacks. And another thing we've been looking at is different demographics as well, because different people want to protect, various, it's not just the elderly, right? I'm a parent, so I want to protect my kids too. It's how do I leverage cybersecurity? How do I tighten up my cybersecurity practice at home to protect my children as well? Because there's a whole different bunch of people out there trying to target my kids as opposed to my parents, right? And different motivation around those attacks as well. People that are targeting my parents are generally after their money, whereas people that target my kids are not after their money, right? Yeah. So there's those kind of things. So that's where we're headed as well.
If you can go back to the beginning, would you do anything differently with writing the book?
Yes. Yes, I would have done things properly in the first place, right? Get a quality product, take your time to make sure it's formatted properly, make sure, you have a quality product to release, because it's your name, right? It's your name and reputation that is attached to this. If you deliver a crap product, then that reflects badly on you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that although I wanted to get that thing done and out the door, I'm glad that we reined ourselves in. We said, no, let's get a quality product done. Let's get it professionally, edited. Let's get the cover done properly. Let's get it formatted properly, so that then my reputation is attached to a quality product as opposed to something that just flew out the door and didn't look like I put any thought into it.
100%. Were there any moments when you were not sure that you're going to the right direction and nobody will care about a book?
I don't think there was anything that gave me pause to say, I don't think this is important, because when I was doing my research and talking to a lot of people, nobody said, oh, this is a bad idea. Every single one of them, and the vast majority of my friends and colleagues are also in the cybersecurity industry, right? It's a very small, incestuous community that we're all in. And everybody said, this is a fantastic idea, right? I wish I'd thought of it. And it's near and dear to my heart, because everybody either has loved ones that are in that situation, or God willing, we're all headed in that direction ourselves, right? Everybody said that. The only thing that gave me pause ever was someone turned around and said, well, you're making yourself a target, right? Because as soon as you put your head above the parapet and you start calling out things around how to protect, you're taking away someone's livelihood, even though it's some
Hmm,
ill-gotten gains, and you're hurting their livelihood. And then
interesting.
they're going to come, if you put your head far enough above the parapet, they're going to start shooting at you. Luckily, I've been in this business a long time, knocking on wood. I think my defenses are pretty good. Come try.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Kind of wanted to go to direction to see. You mentioned about the series, and I think it's a good idea to do. You mentioned about the process of writing. What about work-life balance? How
Yeah, that's a
hard was
great
to
question.
maintain?
I would say it made it a lot easier that it was a collaboration between my wife and myself. When, as she puts it, work is fun, it's not work. I enjoyed the writing process. I'm an SE, so we like going out talking to people and meeting people and stuff all the time. And so going out and meeting with my friends and talking about this process, meeting with the people at the retirement community and getting to hear their stories and stuff. That part was all fun for me. So doing that evenings and weekends, that's great. And plus, it was down my father-in-law's one, so my wife gets to come along and be with her family and stuff. So that part's great. And then working through the process of getting it done and collaborating with my better half on that, it really was a fun process and learning as well, because I'm a learning junkie. I'm constantly on the lookout for new skills and things I've never tried before. So this was something I'd not done. Sometimes the learning process can be painful, but any time you take a step back, I find you learn more from mistakes than you do from getting things right. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's great for our next one that comes out. We hopefully won't make those same mistakes again. And we'll speed up that process because we won't fall into the same pitfalls that we did that kind of set us back along the way. So yeah, it's been a super fun process. It hasn't felt like work to me. My day job is still my day job, but evenings and weekends, I get to spend those with my wife doing something that's fun, that's building a future, that's helping people. And we're not just sat in front of the TV watching Love Island or whatever.
Yeah. What's your take on audio version of the book? Is this something in the
Yeah,
horizon?
no, so funnily enough, I that was this weekend. So this weekend I spent recording the audio book of this. So that is out at ACX now for
Oh,
approval.
yourself?
Yeah, yeah, because it's my book. I have the advantage of this tool, my accent, and plus we toyed with the idea. Luckily, my youngest son's an actor who does voice acting. So we thought of the idea of having him do it. But since my name is on the book, I decided I would do the audiobook. We did the recording this weekend, submitted that to ACX, which is the kind of back end part of Audible. That's going through their approval process right now. So hopefully, I believe it takes 10 business days for that approval. And then there's a PDF version of the book that will accompany that audio book as well.
I actually don't know myself because this is something I wanted to check for me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that Amazon will not take your own copy and it have to be professionally done, or you just smoke and mirrors.
So that's not the case. I recorded mine. I know examples of many people that have recorded their own. As long as the quality is there, so you really need to make sure the recording quality is tied down. They will not accept audio that's got background noise or isn't a certain bit rate and stuff like that. So you definitely need to make sure the quality is there. There's a lot of editing involved to get like breath and things like that edited out. But if you don't mind doing that yourself, you can do that. You can hire people actually through audio. They have a library of professionals that do it, or if you're lucky like me, a professional that does it. So you could go that way. But yeah, I saw no restriction of doing it myself.
Yes. Alex, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. We'll definitely put the link to the show notes to the book and to the Amazon and other places. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the episode.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.